Hey, it's Brett, and this is Brett and Some Books. Today we are continuing The Plot to Seize the White House by Jules Archer. This is Chapter 2 of Part 3. In September 1933, when he had gone to Newark for a convention of the 29th Division, Butler testified, McGuire had unexpectedly showed up at his hotel to remind him that the time for the American Legion convention was rapidly approaching and to ask whether he was finally ready to take a contingent of veterans to Chicago.
I said, no, I'm not going to Chicago. Why not? I said, you people are bluffing. You have not got any money. Whereupon he took out a big wallet out of his hip pocket and a great big mass of $1,000 bills and threw them onto the bed. I said, what's this? He says, this is for you, for expenses. You will need some money to pay them. How much money have you got there? He said, $18,000. Where did you get these $1,000 bills? Oh, he said, last night some contributions were made. I just have not had a chance to deposit them, so I brought them along with me. I said, don't you try to give me any $1,000 bill. Remember, I was a cop once. Every one of the numbers on these bills has been taken. I know you people and what you are trying to do. You were just trying to get me by the neck. If I try to cash one of those $1,000 bills, you would have me by the neck. Oh, he said, we can change them into smaller denominations. I said, you put that money away before somebody walks in here and sees that money around, because I do not want to be tied up with it at all. I told you distinctly I am not going to take these men to Chicago. Well, are you going yourself? I said, oh, I do not know, but I know one thing. Somebody is using you. You are a wounded man. You are a blue jacket. You've got a silver plate in your head. I looked you up. You are being used by somebody, and I want to know the fellows who are using you. I'm not going to talk to you anymore. You are only an agent. I want some of the principals. He said, well, I will send one of them over to see you. I said, who? He said, I will send Mr. Clark. Who's Mr. Clark? Well, he is one of our people. He put up some money. Who is he? Well, his name is R.S. Clark. He's a banker. He used to be in the army. How old a man is he? He told me. Would it be possible that he was a second lieutenant in the 9th Infantry in China during the Boxer campaign? He said, that is the fellow. He was known as the Millionaire Lieutenant and was sort of batty, sort of queer, and did all these extravagant things. He used to go exploring around China and wrote a book on it, on explorations. He was never taken seriously by anybody, but he had a lot of money. An aunt and an uncle died and left him $10 million.
Having established contact with one of the plot's principals, Butler testified, he had been visited by Clark within the week and invited to travel in a private car to the Chicago convention with the millionaire, who revealed that he would arrange an opportunity for Butler to deliver the gold standard speech.
He said, you have got the speech? I said, yes. These fellows, Doyle and McGuire, gave me a speech. I said, they wrote a hell of a good speech, too. He said, did those fellows say anything Did those fellows say that they wrote that speech? I said, yes, they did. They told me that was their business, writing speeches. He laughed and said, that speech costs a lot of money. In testimony afterward censored, Butler revealed that the speech had apparently been written for the millionaire by the chief attorney for J.P. Morgan and Company, who had been the 1924 Democratic candidate for president. Now, either from what he said then or from what McGuire had said, I got the impression that the speech had been written by John W. Davis. One or the other of them told me that.
Clark had been amused, Butler testified, that McGuire and Doyle had claimed the authorship. Butler had pointed out that a speech urging a return to the gold standard did not seem to be relevant to the reasons he was being asked to go to the convention. Clark had reiterated McGuire's explanation that he wanted to see the soldiers' bonus paid in gold-backed currency, not in inflated paper money.
Yes, I said, but it looks as if it were a big business speech. There is something funny about that speech, Mr. Clark. Clark said, I've got $30 million. I do not want to lose it. I'm willing to spend half of the $30 million to save the other half. If you would go out and make that speech in Chicago, I'm certain that they will adopt the resolution, and that will be one step toward the return to gold. And I have the soldiers to stand up for it. We can get the soldiers to go out in great bodies to stand up for it. This was the beginning of the idea, you see, of having a soldiers' organization, getting them to go out in favor of the gold standard. Clark's thought was, I do not want to lose my money.
In a censored portion of the testimony, Butler explained why Clark thought that Roosevelt would permit himself to be pressured by such tactics.
He said, you know the president is weak. He will come right along with us. He was born in this class. He was raised in this class, and he will come back. He will run true to form. In the end, he will come around, but we have got to be prepared to sustain him when he does.
This blatant snobbery and fatuous assumption about the president had been too much for Butler, and he had snapped a refusal to go to Chicago.
He said, why not? I said, I do not want to be mixed up in this thing at all, and to tell you frankly, Mr. Clark, I have got one interest, and that is the maintenance of a democracy. That is the only thing. I took an oath to sustain the democracy, and that is what I'm going to do, and nothing else. I am not going to get these soldiers marching around and stirred up over the gold standard. What the hell does a soldier know about the gold standard? You are just working them, using them, just as they have been used right along. And I'm going to be one of those that see that they do not use them anymore except to maintain a democracy. And then I will go out with them any time to do that.
At this point, Butler testified Clark had offered him an outright bribe to win his cooperation.
He said, why do you want to be stubborn? Why do you want to be different from other people? We can take care of you. You've got a mortgage on this house. Waving his hand, pointing to the house. That can all be taken care of. It's perfectly legal, perfectly proper. Yes, I said, but I just do not want to do it, that's all. Finally, I said, do you know what you were trying to do? You were trying to bribe me in my own house. You were very polite about it, and I can hardly call it that, but it looks kind of funny to me, making that kind of proposition. You come out into the hall. I want to show you something. We went out there. I have all the flags and banners and medals of honor and things of that kind. They have been given to me by the Chinese and the Nicaraguans and the Haitians, by the poor people. I said to him, you come out here. Look at that and see what you are trying to do. You are trying to buy me away from my own kind. When you have made up your mind that I will not go with you, then you come on and tell me. After being left in the hall to inspect the trophies and think about their significance,
Butler testified Clark had joined him in the office at the back of the house. The millionaire had then asked permission to make a long-distance call.
He called up Chicago and got a hold of McGuire at the Palmer House, and he said to McGuire, General Butler is not coming to the convention. He has given me his reasons, and they are excellent ones, and I apologize to him for my connection with it. I am not coming either. You can put this thing across. You have got $45,000. You can send those telegrams. You've got to do it that way. The general is not coming. I can see why. I'm going to Canada to rest. If you want me, you know where you can find me. I got enough money to go through with it.
The convention came off, and the gold standard was endorsed by the convention.
The convention came off, and the gold standard was endorsed by the convention. I read about it with a great deal of interest. There was some talk about a flood of telegrams that came in and influenced them. I was so much amused because it all happened right in my room. Then McGuire stopped to see me on his way back from the convention. This time he came in a hired limousine and told me that they had been successful in putting over their move. I said, "Yes, but you did not endorse the soldiers' bonus." He said, "Well, we've got to get sound currency before it's worth it to endorse the bonus."
Not long after that, Butler testified, McGuire had called again to ask him to go to Boston for a soldiers' dinner that was being given in the general's honor.
He said, "We will have a private car for you on the end of the train. You make a speech on this dinner, and it will be worth $1,000 to you." I said I never got $1,000 for making a speech. He said, "You will get it this time." "Who is going to pay for this dinner and this ride up in the private car?" "Oh, we will pay for it out of our funds." "I'm not going to Boston. If the soldiers of Massachusetts want to give a dinner and want me to come, I will come, but there is no $1,000 in it." So he said, "Well then, we'll think of something else."
He had next seen McGuire, Butler testified, while in New York to make an election speech on behalf of a former Marine running for local office in a municipal campaign. McGuire had then sought to draw Butler out on his subsequent plans.
He said, "You are going on a trip for the veterans of foreign wars. You are going around recruiting them, aren't you?" I said, "Yes, I'm going to start as soon as this campaign is over."
When was this campaign?
This was in November 1933. All this happened between July and November, everything I told you. He said, "You were going out to speak for the veterans." I said, "Yes. You know, I believe that sooner or later there is going to be a test of our democracy, a test of this democratic form of government. The soldiers are the only people in this country who have ever taken an oath to sustain it. I believe that I can appeal to them by the millions to stand up for a democracy, because they have more stake in a democracy than any other class of our citizens, because they have fought for it. I am going out to the veterans of foreign wars. They are my kind, overseas people, old regulars, and if I could not get 500,000 of those fellows and preach this to them, that we have got to stand up against war, I have got an object in doing it. I believe that sooner or later we are going to have a showdown, because I have had so many invitations to head societies and to join societies, all of them with the camouflaged patriotic intent. They are rackets, all of them."
McGuire had then exposed the forward edge of a new plan to use the general, startling Butler by a proposal to join him in his travels around the country.
He said, "Well, that is what we are for. I want to go around with you and talk to the soldiers in the background and see if we cannot get them to join a great big super organization to maintain the democracy." I said, "I do not know about you going along, Jerry. Of course, I cannot keep you off the train, but there is something funny about all this that you are doing, and I am not going to be responsible for it, and I do not want any more to do with it. You are a wounded soldier, and I am not going to hurt you, but you must lay off this business with me because there is too much money in it." "Well, I am a businessman," he said. "I do not see how you not be a businessman too." I said, "If fiddling with this form of government is business, I am out of it, if that is your business." "Oh," he said, "I would not disturb this form of government." I said, "You've got some reason for getting at these soldiers other than to maintain a democracy."
Although Butler did not testify to having been offered and turning down $750 for every speech he made to veterans group during his tour, in which he inserted a short reference favoring the gold standard. A special tribute was paid to him on this score by a secret report he did not know of that reached the White House. It had been written by Val O'Farrell, a former New York City detective who had become one of the city's leading criminal and civil investigators. On December 11th, 1933, O'Farrell had written Presidential Secretary Lewis Howe, "My dear Colonel, before Butler left for Atlanta, he was approached by a representative of the bankers group, a gold group system, and offered the sum of $750 for each speech if he would insert some sort of reference in favor of continuing the bankers' gold standard. This would have meant an additional $10,000 to General Butler, but he told the representative of the gold group that even if he were offered $100,000 to do this, his answer would be no. Notwithstanding the fact that I do not know General Butler, who has been occasionally subject to harsh criticism for the things he has done or failed to do, I felt it my duty to report this incident to you, as it shows him to be a man of exceptional character. You can probably obtain the name of the representative of this gold group from General Butler. If you are interested, I may be able to get it for you."